the battle between DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas versus A'ja Wilson. Question: are we talking about three of the four most unlikable athletes that this league has to offer? Question mark? In one damn finals?
What if the biggest threat to the WNBA wasn't a rival league but a civil war brewing from within? On one side, you have the reigning two-time champion and MVP, A'ja Wilson, the undisputed queen of the court. On the other, the rookie phenom shattering every record before she even gets a foothold, Caitlin Clark. But this isn't just a simple battle for a title, it has morphed into a bitter public war for the soul of the league, and A'ja Wilson just dropped a verbal bombshell that threatens to bring the entire fragile empire crashing down around her. The battle lines have been drawn, and what's at stake is nothing less than the future of professional women's basketball as we know it.
Well, I got some bad news. Number one, I don't think none of y'all are doing any pre-WNBA prep. I don't think none of y'all are fired up for no games. None of that. In fact, I believe y'all don't care. I think y'all care about the drama around it. I do believe that, but I don't think you care about the events itself.
It all started when A'ja Wilson finally spoke a truth that the league office and its marketing department never wanted to hear, uttered out loud. In a stunningly candid interview that sent shockwaves through the sports world, she was asked about the unprecedented media frenzy surrounding Caitlin Clark, and she refused to give a sanitized, media-trained answer. Instead, she didn't hold back. She claimed the explosion in popularity wasn't just about talent, but that it was, in her exact words, about black and white. With that single explosive sentence, Wilson ignited a raging firestorm, effectively accusing the media, the fans, and perhaps even the league itself of intentionally overlooking the black players who had bled for this league for years. This wasn't just a casual observation, it was a direct accusation that would cleave the entire fan base in two, forcing everyone to pick a side.
By ticket prices, neither does anybody else. Wow. If ever there was proof that the Caitlin Clark fans / Fever fans are now the overwhelming majority of the fandom, look at ticket prices for finals games.
The most difficult problem for Wilson, and the most inconvenient truth for the league's veterans, is that the numbers tell a terrifyingly one-sided story. Pundits call it the Caitlin Clark effect, and it's not just manufactured hype, it's a statistical tidal wave that has completely reshaped the league's financial landscape in a matter of weeks. Arenas that once offered cheap tickets and had rows of empty seats are now consistently sold out, with waiting lists forming weeks in advance. Ticket prices for Indiana Fever games, both home and away, have skyrocketed into the stratosphere, with desperate fans paying hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars for nosebleed seats just to get in the building. Meanwhile, for marquee matchups featuring other top teams and legendary players, you can still find tickets online for less than a night at the movies. The evidence is brutal and undeniable. Right now, a huge, overwhelming portion of the WNBA's newfound audience is only there for one person.
Holy hell, there's $35 seats right there. Right there. Plenty of good seats available. $46, $42.
Wilson's explosive comments were immediately framed by many as a public tantrum, a moment of weakness from a champion who couldn't handle sharing the spotlight. The backlash online and across sports talk shows was swift and absolutely brutal. She was relentlessly accused of being bitter, petty, and jealous, unable to graciously accept that a rookie was commanding more attention than she was. Instead of starting a productive conversation about media bias, her critics argued that her words were actively pushing away the millions of new fans Clark had brought into the fold. Her attempt to demand respect had, in the eyes of many, completely backfired, casting her as the bitter villain in what was supposed to be the league's biggest and most uplifting Cinderella story. And that's when people started asking a truly terrifying question that sent a chill down the spine of every WNBA executive.
Should scare the league to death. With DeWanna Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, and the Mercury in the finals against A'ja Wilson and the Aces, will you be locked in watching this series? Question mark. Yes or no? Hit the poll. 4% of brave souls said yes. 96% said hail to the no.
What would happen if the league's undisputed golden goose, Caitlin Clark, wasn't on the biggest stage of the season? Imagine a WNBA Finals featuring a Mount Rushmore of talent, legends like A'ja Wilson, the fierce DeWanna Bonner, and the powerhouse Alyssa Thomas. On paper, you'd expect it to be the hottest ticket in all of sports, a celebration of the league's best, but insiders are now whispering about a doomsday scenario where tickets are going for as low as $35, with entire sections of the arena sitting empty. In a truly stunning revelation, a fan poll surfaced showing that a staggering 96% of respondents said they would have zero interest in watching a finals that didn't feature Clark and the Fever. This isn't just a bad look for the league, it's a potential financial apocalypse that would expose the WNBA as a fragile one-player spectacle, completely dependent on a 22-year-old rookie.
Guys, if the Fever and Caitlin Clark was playing in a finals game, let's say against the Mercury, with all that drama around there, would there be a single ticket less than $300? Now, I mean, honestly, a single ticket less than $300. I don't think so. I think you'd have courtside seats go for $5,000.
This existential fear has reportedly created a secret, escalating panic within the WNBA's headquarters in New York. The league is now facing a devastating and seemingly unsolvable paradox. They desperately need Caitlin Clark for their very survival, but her unprecedented fame is breeding deep, palpable resentment among the veteran stars who feel utterly disrespected and forgotten. Every single decision coming from the league office is now a high-stakes gamble. Do they double down on promoting their established champions and risk alienating Clark's massive money-spending fan base, or do they lean into the Clark phenomenon and officially confirm to their own veteran players that they are now second-class citizens in the very league they built? It's a lose-lose situation that is reportedly tearing the league apart behind closed doors.
You are not invested, you are not interested in watching this BS transpire on your television sets.
And A'ja Wilson isn't some lone wolf crying out in the wilderness. Her frustration is a silent sentiment shared across the league. For years, players like DeWanna Bonner and Alyssa Thomas have been the undisputed heart and soul of the WNBA. They are tough, skilled, battle-tested veterans who have poured their blood, sweat, and tears into building this league from the ground up, often for little pay and even less recognition. Now they are forced to watch as a rookie who hasn't won a single thing is granted private security details, flies on charter flights the league claimed it couldn't afford for years, and receives 24/7 fawning media coverage. Their public silence on the matter is deafening, but you can see their simmering disrespect in every unnecessarily hard foul, every cold post-game handshake, and every passive-aggressive comment to the media. The locker rooms are filled with a thick, ugly tension that is becoming impossible to ignore.
Caitlin Clark was playing, if she was in these finals along with the Fever, now you know why we conveniently did not hear anything about the ankle, blah, 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 and I won't be coming back until the season was basically over. The WNBA was very aware of what that was going to do to ticket prices, etc.
This growing frustration has led to a dark and controversial narrative bubbling up among fans and critics. As players like Wilson, Bonner, and Thomas continue to voice their displeasure, they are being labeled. The question is being asked in online forums and on sports radio shows. Are we talking about some of the most unlikable athletes the league has to offer? While they see themselves as defenders of the league's integrity, a growing segment of the new audience sees them as bitter gatekeepers. Their perceived negativity and public complaints are not winning them any new supporters. In fact, it's doing the opposite, alienating the very fans whose money and attention are required to float the entire enterprise. It's a tragic irony. In their fight for respect, they may be losing the public altogether.
Can't wait to see the ratings for this. Because I did see where that semifinals game against the Aces and the Fever, drew like 1.8 million viewers, I think, is what it was. Will they get half of that for this finals? Will they get half of the viewership for this finals?
But the players in the league aren't the only ones caught in this storm. The sports media is not just a passive observer reporting on the story. Many argue it is an active participant, pouring gasoline on the fire for its own benefit. The Wilson versus Clark and vets versus rookie narratives are ratings gold. Every controversial quote, every hard foul, every sign of drama is amplified and dissected for clicks and views. This creates a vicious feedback loop where players are pitted against each other, the media profits from the conflict, and the league's locker room culture is poisoned in the process. The very entities that should be celebrating the WNBA's growth are instead exploiting its internal divisions for their own financial gain. This desperation has even led to whispers of a more sinister conspiracy, one that revolves around protecting the league's most valuable asset at all costs. An idea once confined to the fringes is now gaining traction. The theory of a conspiracy of silence around Caitlin Clark's health. Fans noticed that after a significant ankle injury, there was a convenient lack of detailed updates, and Clark was back on the court surprisingly quickly. The WNBA, critics suggest, was terrifyingly aware of what her absence would do to ticket prices and TV ratings. The fear is that the league, and perhaps even the team, is pressuring Clark to play through injuries and downplaying their severity, risking her long-term health for the sake of short-term profits. It's a damning accusation that suggests the league sees her less as a person and more as a product. And make no mistake, she is the most valuable product the league has ever had. The story goes far beyond just ticket sales and viewership. The Caitlin Clark effect has become the league's literal financial lifeline. Merchandise with her name and number is flying off the shelves, outselling the rest of the league's stars combined. New high-profile sponsorship deals are being signed, citing her presence as the primary reason for their investment. And then there are the charter flights, a luxury the league's veterans fought for years, only to be told it was financially impossible. Suddenly, with Clark's arrival, the money appeared. This reality has made it painfully clear to everyone that Clark isn't just a popular player, she is single-handedly bankrolling the league's newfound prestige. But the most damning and irrefutable evidence of all comes down to one cold hard metric: the television ratings. A regular season game between the Aces and the Fever in May drew an average of 1.8 million viewers, a number that would have been unthinkable just 1 year ago for any WNBA game, let alone a championship matchup. This sets up the league's biggest fear. Will a final series without Clark even get half of that viewership? Will they be able to even crack 1 million viewers? The league's premier championship event, its biggest showcase of the year, is now at serious risk of becoming a viewership ghost town, completely ignored by the mainstream audience that has only recently tuned in. You are not invested, you are not interested in watching this transpire on your television sets. That is the fear. This entire crisis puts the WNBA's past failures into stark relief. This dangerous dependency on a single rookie is in many ways a self-inflicted wound. For decades, the league failed to properly market its incredible superstars. Generational talents like Maya Moore, Candace Parker, and Diana Taurasi never received a fraction of the marketing push or media attention that Clark has received in just a few months. The league's inability or unwillingness to build a roster of household names is precisely why it is now in this precarious position. They didn't build a sustainable ecosystem of stars, so when one supernova finally arrived, she threatened to blot out everything else in the sky. This brings it all back to A'ja Wilson, a two-time MVP and champion standing at a dangerous and defining crossroads in her career. Is she a courageous truth-teller, a martyr for a just cause, bravely exposing the uncomfortable biases the league has ignored for far too long? Or has her public frustration and perceived jealousy made her the primary antagonist in the WNBA's once-in-a-generation growth story? She is fighting for her respect, her legacy, and her place in the history books, but in the process, she might be confirming the one thing the league and its owners never wanted the world to know: that without the rookie she resents, this entire promising empire could be built on a foundation of sand, ready to crumble at any moment.